Hey, what's up? Okay, so about a month ago, maybe a little over a month ago now, I posted a video called What Being Bigendered Looks Like. And it was apparently a very controversial video. Well, I took a video of me in girl mode, and then I waited until there was a day when I was in guy mode, and I shot a clip basically talking about what that's like for me, and then I spliced them together to make one long video. But somebody posted a question on that video asking me to talk a little bit about sort of what living as bigendered is like, as far as like if people ask whether I'm a boy or a girl, what do I say, and how do I explain it to my family, how did it go, and if I have a job, how did it go with my boss. Okay, so if people ask me if I'm a boy or a girl, which they usually don't because I'm very small and very feminine looking, which I think also contributes to why people think that I'm not serious when I say that I'm bigendered or when I identify as a man, because they're like, you're like 5'2" and you've got like the most feminine features and your voice is like really pretty high. Like, you're gonna call yourself a man? Okay. But especially also because my boy side is very feminine, in a sense, like effeminate, I guess you could say. So that adds to it as well. When people ask me what gender I am, or when that comes up, I lean towards saying male, just because the way that society is set up right now, it's not very easy to live as either neither or both. Fluidity is not something that people are familiar with. So, like, for example, if I have to use the bathroom and I'm in boy mode, I would feel very uncomfortable using the girls' bathroom because I just feel like that's sort of taking the easy way out just because I pass as a girl and that I should use the boys' bathroom. But then if I go back to that same bathroom area as a girl and use the girls' bathroom because I feel like a girl that day, I just feel like that causes undue amounts of. I just don't want to bring that much attention to myself, and so I default to male all the time. I've been living, you could say, as a man, even though sometimes I feel, or I have my feminine days. I've described it. You can see the video. They're very different types of personalities, depending on which. They're both me, of course. It's not like I'm really two people. I think that's something that people don't understand about bigenderism. But being bigender is difficult because it's a very set binary as far as gender is concerned. You're either one or the other. And even if you're trans, your sex is male or whatever, and your gender expression or your gender is female. That's still one. And bigender is having the capacity, or not even just the capacity, but experiencing feeling both ways, and the mood shifts and the personality shifts that go along with it. To say it boils down to simplicity's sake, I default to male. And I'm living the life of a trans man who's pre-T and pre-op. So I guess that would be what I would answer to that. Although, if people call me a girl, it doesn't bother me as much as it did before, especially if I'm in girl mode. Of course, it doesn't bother me then. So it's complicated, but the simple answer is I default to male, and I live as a male. The second question was, how did you explain it to your family, and how did it go? The way I explained it to my family, well, okay, by family, I guess I should say my mom, because she's the only one I've ever actually sat down and had a conversation with this about, because she identifies as bigendered as well. But I think that even though she identifies as bigender, I think her definition of that and my definition of that are very different. Even though she would call herself to me and say that she's bigender, she lives the life of a cis woman. And so, since I'm not doing that, I think she doesn't know exactly how to help me, and she thinks that I am just not comfortable with the female side of me, and that because I've had bad experiences with girls in the past, I'm just trying to distance myself from them, and because I was socialized around a lot of guys, that I think I'm one of them, but really I'm just more of a tomboy. And that kind of hurts, I guess, because that's not the case. And so I think because of the way she's reacted, it's also kind of caused me to focus more on the male part of myself and to push that as a thing and say, like, well, you know, I might want to take hormones, I might want to get surgery, and I think that freaks her out, but it does kind of force her to take me more seriously than if I were just to say, like, well, some days I feel like a guy and some days I feel like a girl, or show her the video, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like she wouldn't really be down with that. I'd say, like, I think you're just working through something, you should probably go, you know, talk to your counselor about it, and that sort of thing. The rest of my family, I think one of my aunts saw my "What Does Bigenderism Look Like" video, and so we went over, and I only know that because we went over to her house one time, and she was like, so which one are you today? And I was like, and I was in guy mode at the time, but I was just so startled, so I just said, Serenity? And she was like, okay. And I was just so, I've not sat down and had a conversation with her about it because it actually makes me very uncomfortable. I guess, I'm sure anybody who makes YouTube videos, you'd understand that, like, no matter what you're doing, you're not really going to necessarily want your parents to see it. But I kind of wanted to keep the whole thing as separate from my family, just because a lot of my family members are older and I don't really want to rock the boat, that sort of thing. And also, I'm not completely sure that all of them would be alright with it. So there's that. So even if I were to start taking hormones, I wouldn't say, hey guys, I'm taking hormones, use male pronouns. I would suck it up and take it and just say, like, cut my losses and just figure, well, at least I'm not rocking the boat, which I guess you could say is kind of cowardly, and that's just a fine opinion, and you're probably right, but that's how I handle it. So that's kind of how it happened with my family. And then I have a video on the collab channel that I'm a part of as far as, like, coming out to my boyfriend and how that went. So you can check that out on Golden State Boulevard. The final question was, I believe, if you have a job, how did it go with my boss? Okay, I do have a job. And I work at the dining hall, at one of the dining halls at my university. And my boss, I didn't actually come out to, but he treats me like a guy. But I think that's because I have a lot of qualities that are considered very masculine, I suppose. And so, in girl mode, and that whole thing is very confusing. But I have a lot of mannerisms, or I tend to have a lot of mannerisms that I think people would consider more male. And I'm also, you know, I'm assertive. I'm very direct. When I shake hands, it's very firm. I look people right, you know, in their eyes when I talk to them. I don't, you know, I tend to walk around in, you could say, like, a more traditionally masculine way, unless I'm wearing heels, in which case I like to sashay. In guy mode, I definitely do a lot of sashaying, heel wearing, and skinny jean wearing, and yeah, all of that. But in any case, so my boss, I never actually came out to him as such, but he treats me the way that I would want to be treated regardless, so I feel like it doesn't matter. See, that's my thing. I don't care what pronouns you use with me as long as you treat me the way that I feel like I should be treated. Don't treat me like you would treat a woman when I'm not acting like that. And I say woman very loosely. I mean in the societal construct of what it means to be a woman. Don't treat me like that if I'm not acting like that, and vice versa. And because he treats me just like I would want him to treat me as a girl or as a guy, I don't really care what he thinks about my gender expression particularly. One of the girls who's a coordinator for the dining hall does know, because she's a part of a couple, I don't remember which one, and I'm not even really exactly sure which club meeting I met her at, but it must have been one where I said something about using male pronouns or using gender neutral pronouns or something, because I went through the gender neutral pronouns phase for a while. But she knows, and I remember when I started working there, she was like, you know, I'm not going to out you or anything, but, like, should I tell people to call you, like, to have them call you this? And I was like, just don't worry about it. Like, this is not a setting where that really matters. We're working in a kitchen. Like, I actually don't mind. Either way, like, if somebody calls me a guy and then they correct themselves, or if they don't, or if they call me a girl and why would they correct themselves? I look like a girl. I don't care, because realistically, I'm sitting here cooking hamburgers on a grill, so it doesn't really matter. I've kind of come to the conclusion that since my gender expression is much more fluid, whatever people call me should be, for me at least, acceptable, regardless of whether or not, regardless of what mode I might be in, because it is so subject to change not on a day-to-day basis, but like on a like weekly basis or a monthly basis, maybe a day-to-day basis. But because it's so fluid, I feel like it's not really my place to criticize people for misgendering me, because they might have been right. There was a 50% chance they were going to be right. You know what I'm saying? That these are just my opinions about this. I'm by no means any kind of an expert on bigenderism. I don't work in psychology. There are other people that I know who are bigender who think very differently about this, who are more adamant about what pronouns people use with them. I'm not one of them. I know people who've had a lot of conversations with their family. I'm not one of them. So this is just my experience with these things. And so take them as my opinion. Don't use me as something to judge all other people who identify as bigender against, because that's not really very fair. And nor, if I thought that there was a misrepresentation of bigenderism from somebody else, would I want you to compare me to them either. So I just think we should keep it fair, and I'm not invalidating anybody. I'm not trying to encroach on anybody's rights or their feelings. On that note, I hope that answered your questions, and you're welcome to keep asking me questions. That was really great. I'm glad that you were interested in interacting with me. Sorry, I keep like fidgeting. I don't know why. I'll try to work on that. Alright, until next time, take care, guys.